14 mwezi wa 6 mwaka 2021. Natumai kwamba ulikuwa na weekend safi kabisa. We had a very great weekend and you're ready to start off the week again. And there could never be a better way to start off the week than on the Tackle, the Common Sense edition, Life and Money, where we get to talk about your life, and we talk about your families, and we talk about your finances, and we talk about everything that makes you human. This is a Tackle 14 June 2021. Na karibu sana. As usual, I request when you join in, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us. I'm not like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a program that is proudly brought to you by Rexy Roofing. So as we start off this conversation, we're going to talk about Rexy Roofing, what they do, and how beautiful house that you can have. Lakini kama kawaida, kama tujaanza, lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi tunakuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, God, for your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive this morning. We thank you for the weekend that has been. We thank you for the gift of another week. We pray that you start off, be with us. Everything that we start to do this week, may you bless it. Father, even everything that you've given our hands to do as we go out to work today, we pray that you may be able to expand it and you are to bless it and you are able to at least ensure that it's productive and it gives us a hope for tomorrow. As with that, this show will be with us, even as we have this conversation that's very vital. I pray that it may be able to edify the fabric of this society and country. As we start off with us, when we finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray and believe. Amen and amen. Haya. Ana kuna mtu amemka tayari. Bita and Ruth Dowry kutoka KNH. Asante sana. Munga ulita continue all the way from Convent United Kingdom. Looking forward to the Common Sense edition this morning show. Asante Johnson Koech. Good morning. Good morning to you. Wesley. Kijana Wesley mwenye wasema good morning. Good morning to you. Sir Johnson Koech tuned in from Britain Kericho. Asante sana. Stephen Falme Tika Tuned MC Kale Chairman Menokisha Kettle Dip. Good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Kamugisha Ivo. Good morning. Don Maverick. Good morning tuned in from the CBD. William Wange. Good morning team. Good morning to you, my brother. I saw Boss Burgay. Anasema good morning. Wa Vicky. Good morning. Bitok tuned in from Nyaururu. Wesley B. Watching Jero, my favorite. Asante sana. Thank you so much, Wesley B. Moses Kamo. Pastor Bishop mwenyewe. Anasema good morning to class. May we have a blessed week ahead. Alafu GB, who told you and Baba that pastor's role ni kuomba tu and can't have a say instead of the nation? So just sema hivyo, you can have a say. Moses Kamo, pastor, by the way, unaweza piga simu. Moses Kamo 779 800 779 800. Pia tunahitaji mawaidha yako kutoka upande wa mtumishi wa Mungu ama pastor ama mchungaji wa kondoo. Tuambie watu ukaa vipi kwa familia. Nasikia siku hizi pia zile ndoa ambazo zinazambaratika pia ni watumishi. Tuambie what's going on there, what's wrong there, na pia kunaendaje kwenye upande wenu. Steven Mushai, good morning team. I say from Ngong, we are tuned in. Asante sana Steve from Ngong. Jeff Jeboy, good morning tuned in from Nairo. Asante watu wa Nairobi. Purity Tanui, good morning everyone. Good morning Ronnie. Good morning JB watching from Utawala. Asante Alex Mahera. We are in Kamakawa 034 Club Kutengela, tumekumiss. Takuja. Asante sana Alex Mahera, salimia sana Ngetich. Pambia tatemea weekend kule Nyaba. Muso JB, good morning. Talk tuned in from Dono. Asante sana. When you join in, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us. And after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a tackle. The tackle begins now. Kama mtu sijatoroka, naona kuna watu ambao wanalia hapa. Mohamed Abdullahi, good morning Kenya from Little Milano. Rona Kimutai Betwell, good morning panel Tamo. Asante sana. We continue a conversation that we had last week. We're having a very healthy conversation last week and we didn't finish it. So we are saying today tutaendeleza kidogo, alafu tuanze pia another new topics on what we had discussed last time, alafu tuweze kujua mambo itakuwa vipi. We are talking about family harmony and in finances, harmony. First of all, harmony has to start in. Before you get to finances, you must be harmonious, the two of you. Ama siku hizo captain anasema ni wengi, kuna dedicated partnership and all that, lakini hiyo pepo tunaikemea kwa leo. Lakini wale wawili harmony, there needs to be some harmony between the people who are that married before we talk about finances. Then we go and talk about finance and joint vision. How after you've united, how much do you trust each other to do things together? Amen. That is a conversation that we had left last week. So you're also going to talk about gambling and addiction. There are guys who are complaining that they've got an addiction to gambling. Mashamba wameuza, vitu mingi wameziuza zimeenda. Alafu pia kuna wanaume wana retire desperate and lonely. Man, kuna wakati nilikuwa inaitwa nini? Abadeas, the country lodge. And there was some old man who was sitting, fairly, the guy should be around 60, if I'm not wrong. So he had a backpack on the side and he was sitting at the edge of the balcony, just staring to nothing. And you could see that he's not paying attention to his surroundings. So you could see that he's a man who is in a lot of thoughts. So I asked the guy who was serving us tea, and I was asking him, okay, so is this guy okay? Can I be, no, he just comes here every day, he's retired. No, the guy so he comes here every day to pass time, and akuja saa 4, then he leaves around 5 something in the evening. And then it keeps me wondering, where is his family? Like, how can men retire like this? How can you call this retirement? It's not retirement. That is almost a slow death. It's like you're slowly now degenerating, and you're losing. So where are these people? Where are your children at this point? Where's your wife? I was joking with someone the other day about Scarface. The lion is Masai Mara. All the time we've been seeing him alone, and he died alone. Where is his family? We don't even know in Tanzania. Anyway, we talk about, and then again, we talk about the preferential treatment by children and parents in old age. Who's to blame? Because most people are saying that most of the time men don't take time to develop, to have an emotional connection with their family, with their children and all that. So when they grow old, there's nobody who feels obligated to be with them. And there's a trend that's coming up these days where most of the children are going abroad. Your daughter very soon could go abroad. You're lucky you're very close with your daughter. She could go abroad. And when you are growing old, you cannot come to the tackle again. Your hair is wet and you're tired. Now he texts the mama. She takes the mama and apeleka Canada. I'm Australia. Then where Wanderi unabaki unahangaika Kiambu. So the question is, why do children do that? That's another conversation we need to have.
Uko na kuku, na mbuzi, na ng'ombe.
Utaishi. Bora kuna kuku, mbuzi na ng'ombe.
Kuna kuku, mbuzi na ng'ombe.
Mtu asikutishe.
Una complain kwa nini? Hizo ni
That is company.
That is company. It's actually very sad talk, and we must talk about it because if you look very well and you said rightly, we read the way of men. The way of men is the way of the gang. Mm-hmm. That's when we act together because we still have strength. We still have the presence, the strength of body and mind. Yeah. But when strength goes away, there is what you call the cumulative legacy. Mm-hmm. And this is what a lot of men forget. Yeah. And your cumulative legacy is what you accumulate when you are strong. Mm-hmm. The old age feeds on the youth. So when it is your youthful years, please invest in things that are of value. Mm. And one of the things that you invest in is not just brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this before. We've had men who are very wealthy, but they're worried about what will happen to the things they've built in this life once they are gone. Because apart from investing in brick and mortar, please invest time and values in your children, and values also to those who are around you. Because there is also a fallacy that people think that when you invest for yourself and for your family alone, that you're helping society. You're actually creating inequalities and entrenching inequalities. Yeah. You also need to lift those who are very close to you so that people move in tandem. Yeah. You may not do as much as everything, because even children of your brothers and sisters, they have their parents. Yeah. But it behoves upon you as a man to ensure that even your nephew, your niece, your neighbor's child who is gifted and talented are also slowly also gaining up. Because even when you retire, because you've asked a very good question, why don't people want to sit at home even when they retire? Because you are only acting for yourself, acting for your immediate family. Yeah. Your neighbors cannot even connect with you. Your age mates can't connect with you because you live in ivory towers. I would ask people that please try and invest in back in the community where you came from. When I was a young officer in the armed forces, Bitok, an older officer called me one day and told me that I know you're very young. I see you've bought a car. Now we see you with another one. Then he asked me a question. He told me there are 5 pillars in the armed forces. There is a pillar of service, there is a pillar of training, there is a pillar to deal with doctrine, then there is the pillars of dedication to the country, and finally there is resettlement. You will have to be resettled back into civilian life. And he said the most tragic thing that can happen to you is during the work we do, during the service and operational pillar, you get injured and you have nowhere to go to. And so he told me, from now on, please build something at home, even in the village. And I asked him, why would I build in the village and I don't live there? He told me, look, you have your mother, you have your aunties, you have your uncles. If they wanted to talk to you and to deal with you, they need to come to a very comfortable environment. And that is the only place, even if you get injured, you are sure. He told me the social support from your mom, from your aunties, and those close to you, does not go away. So in other words, he kept reminding me, he told me, this fun you're having in Nairobi is okay, but please also go there, and because that is where you come from. He told me that attitude that you will never go back there should not be you, it should be your children, because they were not born there.
Yeah.
And so I got it, and I understood then why he was really pushing me, because there is also a reason, because we had been to very many funerals of officers. And when you get to an officer's home, they are what we call military dirges and, those ceremonies. And you find you're doing it sometimes in an open field, because this officer never put up even a Simba, even a Thingira. So there isn't a place he can call his home. And at that point, even when you finish the ceremony, if he had wife and children, they have to get back to the military vehicles and be returned to the base.
Wow.
Perhaps then, after that, wait for benefits to go and look for a place to live. So those are some of the concerns that men ought to worry about. That please go back to that community. You will resettle, even in civilian life after retirement. You came from that community, you will go back to them. Yeah, so try cultivate good relations. Try cultivate also what you call the behavioral connection. Because you are human. And human beings are animals, and animals relate. You've asked about Scarface. Scarface grew old.
Scarface died alone, man. Where's the wife?
He grew old and tired. And when you grow old and tired, you no longer have the energy and the vigor to fight. Yeah. And that means he has to lose his pride. He lost his pride.
Wow.
That is what has happened to the
That's
men.
the way of men.
Yes. You actually lose your mane. Towards the end of the book, the lion loses its mane. Yeah. So even for men, you lose your mane. Yeah. You lose your energy and vigor. You can no longer keep your pride together. So at that point, you have to have activated what I have called you accumulate legacy that makes it easy for people to come to you.
That is the legacy of the Scarface now.
Yes.
That made us know about him. But the question is, there are also people who have built this. They have built all this. They have built people. They have given birth to children. They have built a fortune. But then again, there's a way they end up. Scarface way. With all these, with the legacy under these things. What happens? What happens to that? Because I was reading that article last week. Sorry to interrupt you. And you're saying retired men are endangered species.
Because we talk, there are two things. I know men who've retired. One of them is my mentor, and he mentored me a lot. And I've mentioned about him. And this man served, in the international, when you call the international sphere, Ephraim Gathaya was CEO of Kenya Red Cross, before Abbas Gulet. Then he also became CEO of Helpage Kenya for the aged. But if you find him now, he spends most of his time in Nyeri, where he grows tea, he has a farm for growing napier grass, and he keeps animals. But he still comes to Nairobi where he invested. Yeah. Now, let me shock you. His wife is not Kenyan by birth. She's a foreigner. But she is the one who really wanted. I find it very interesting. It is our people who want to cut loose connection where they came from. But this lady, a white from a foreign country, was the one telling the husband, look, okay, the area where you are born is a bit warm, so I want us to look for land in a cooler area where, as I age, because of my skin, I am comfortable. Okay? And that's where they are. Very cool place, very good weather, and very fresh environment. Why is he accepted in that community? Let me shock you. When he was at Red Cross, there is not a single school in Mukoroine constituency where he has not done a single thing. Single school out of the 28 secondary schools as at the time he retired. Every school, he has something to show. That means there is not a single part of that community that he did not impact. He has never tried for a political seat. No, he was doing that for the people. There is not a single village where he did not uplift a child of a poor person. You're getting now? Yeah. So he accumulated a legacy of people who are beholden and who depended on him. So it was not just making money.
He made a home.
He made a home. Yeah. And this is why even as young as we were, when you are 18 and you're out of school, he would approach you and tell you, please become a clerk for me. Do this for me. He was mentoring the future generation.
Okay.
And in 2006, he called me and told me, the school in your local area is collapsing. And he told me, it doesn't matter, Wakili, we will make you chairman by force. Yes. And that is what happened. He told me, I'm not giving you an option. I'm going to be the chairman of the board in this school. This school will not collapse as long as you and other people in this community are allowed. Now, that is the legacy. That is why today, even when we travel up country, for those of us he mentored, we go to look for old mzee and spend time at his gazebo out there in the house. He tells us, hata kama nikikosa pesa ya nyama, uji haitakosa. So he cannot be alone. He cannot be alone. And his children actually have gone abroad, but he's ever busy. Even now, he still keeps a diary. There are people who want him to grace their events. And he tells them, squeezy, mimi pesa sina. They say, mzee, we don't want you pesa now. We want to hear your wisdom.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So it's important to at least try and build where you're going back to, in terms of human capital and also resources. What are your thoughts on that, Madam Charity? Good Monday morning.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
Very good, thank you. I spent my Saturday trying to also think about retirement. Yes, I attended a meeting, which was a special AGM for SACCO that I belong to. However, I truly do want to echo the same views of Captain. And I usually tell people, because sometimes we are invited to speak to girls before they are getting married. And I remember, and exactly what he has said actually is what I share in some of these meetings. A home, I mean, a marriage actually should be a home where your husband and yourself will be looking towards reclining in the evening.
Wow.
And it's exactly what he has said about this gentleman who mentored him. And so for men who are suffering in their old age, is because they have not managed to do what he is calling, that accumulated legacy. Where, and it can happen anywhere. Thank God for this gentleman, he has done it within his own country. It can happen even outside your county or country, because what one ought to do is really to build a community, to rally a community around you. When you go to every community, wherever you go and you are settled, you can still be able to do like the lady who now who got married to this local man. So what he's saying is very, very important. And I would wish and pray that men in our nation who are listening can be able to learn from this gentleman. It's beautiful because you can never be alone when you lived for people. People are social. God is a social being, and he created us as social beings as well. So there is that need to want to relate with one another. And so by lifting people who are below you, or by associating with people who are in your level, you'll be able to build what a captain has called
Accumulated legacy.
And it's very, very important because you could still be lonely in a group of people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
you can be among people but still lonely.
Exactly. Because if you don't interact, if you don't reach out to them, if they never get to know you, then how would they be able to relate with you? So this is something that you are intentional, like he has told us. I think that's a beautiful story that also should go into a book. Yeah, or maybe should be repeated so that people can learn and they can apply.
So so now what you're saying is, it's the responsibility of a man to decide how you're going to retire.
Exactly.
If you're retiring desperate and lonely, it means you chose that path.
Exactly.
Because you never build a relationship with these people. That's how it is.
Yeah, but that's why I'm encouraging people and I'm saying, thank God for this kind of forums because you can get to hear what you can do. And I also know we have another problem. I don't know whether it is African, but I think it's very Kenyan, where we never plan. When we talk of planning, you are planning for everything, not only money. You are planning even for how you will spend your retirement. What will you be? You need to have a diary. What will you be doing when you retire? From the day you get employed, you must put it in mind that you will retire. So you start planning for all these things. Even friends, what kind of friends do you relate with? What businesses will you do? Because even retirement doesn't mean that you go and sit be visiting a hotel every morning to sit there. It means this person has no purpose.
Yeah.
And life must have purpose. Why are you living? If God has kept you to be 60, and also I want to say 60 is not very old. Probably it's because maybe what I would call old
Ni
for
maisha
someone.
imemkimbiza.
Ni maisha imemkimbiza. Otherwise 60 is even in, I'm forgetting which, where I heard this, and I think it's true. They have changed now. 60 is no longer the old age. It's actually it's a midlife. It's not a old age.
Miaka sasa imeongezwa.
Imeongezwa.
So wanafika 120.
At 120, 90, 100. There are very many people who are 100 years and they are still, they can run their own things, kidogo, but they are there and they are healthy. So 60 is not really an old age. I'm told someone like the owner of this Kentucky, it's a 66 years of age that he was able to become successful.
Yeah, sure.
His business did very well. So at 60, surely, you still have a lot of ability to be active, even to start now. If you are lonely right now and you're 60, wake up and follow Captain's idea. Start building a legacy. Start collecting, legacy for yourself so that when you are 90, you can at least be still alive and healthy, and you have something to look forward to every morning that you wake up. It's a blessing to be alive, and life is a gift. Yeah.
Is it ever late to build a legacy?
No, that's what I'm saying concerning this guy, the owner of
Can build a legacy anytime.
You can build your legacy anytime, but do not procrastinate.
But relationship, how do you build relationships? Because, when it comes to relationship, you cannot catch up. There's no catching up. There's no catching up with children. By the time you're 60, probably your children, most of them are outside there. It's either you have the emotional connection or you don't. How do you start building connection at 60?
It's true, you may never catch up. And catch
Yeah,
up
because that is where you're retiring to people, actually.
Catch up is not a good idea. You can start from where you are. I said here, I'm a Christian. I am born again. The time that, in fact, there's a scripture that says, in the times of ignorance, God overlooked. But when he brought the law, he demanded that every person understand the law and follow the law. If you're 60 today and you are within, you are hearing what we are saying here, you can still even start a relationship with your children. There is always a second chance, and you can start afresh. He talked of Pride of the Lion. You're talking about.
It's actually a book. Maybe
it's a book.
Need to take it to Baba. I'll send it to you.
Please do.
Ways of Man.
Okay. It sounds like a good one. If you're 60, don't worry about catching up. Start from where you are and build from where you are. It's possible. Yeah. It's possible to start from where you are. And like you're asking, how would you build a relationship? Pick up a call. Pay somebody a visit. Let them know that you realized you, like your children particularly, because it's good to build from where you are. We are told build a foundation of yourself from your own family. Because there's a Kikuyu saying, Wega umaga na mushi. You have to start from your home. And I think it's an African thing. You can't go and become good everywhere, and when you are own home you are no one. You have to start from there. So you can actually call your children. You can visit them if you're in a position, and if they're within the country, you can visit them in their homes and help them understand that you also failed and you're willing to restart your relationship with them again. People are good. It's that sometimes we are so proud that we don't want to swallow our pride or to own up to the fact that, because awareness brings liberation. You are aware that you are 60 and you did not make a relationship with your children. The fact that you're aware then means you can also be able to take that awareness, take advantage of it, call your children, speak to them, tell them, I'm available, I know I made a mistake, and I am sure they would forgive you.
Captain, is it ever late?
For men...
Can you build a legacy when you're losing your main?
Yes, you can start and you can recreate. There is a regeneration. You can regenerate because time is always on our side. I've liked what Charity has said. Joe Biden is now president of the US.
Yes.
When did he begin politicking? Very many years ago. And in the election where Trump got elected, he did not vie for the presidency. He bid his time and allowed Hillary Clinton to vie. Okay, we remember that. Yeah. Now he is president in his late 70s. Donald Trump himself is in his 70s. So I don't understand when men say they are retiring in Africa at 60. In what we call financial planning, age 45 to 60 is the accumulation phase. And a lot of people do not understand. I told you, Bitok, for this I charge to train people. Those phases of life. The accumulation phase is very easy. At that age, what you do is that is when we talk of the cumulative legacy, that's when you try take stock of everything that you have. Those are the days you ought not to live with a pen and paper, to write everything that you come across. Okay? There are times when you come here, Charity, and Bitok says very interesting things like retiring.
Retire your ego.
I mean, I will not forget, because I will take a mental note and put it down
Retire
on
your
my
ego.
notebook.
Yeah.
You know, these things, when you are now in the cumulative phase, you're trying to collect your knowledge, wisdom, relationships, okay, and even your finances. And when we talk about relationships, you've given a very good example. I have brothers. I have a sister. I call them, not because they have not eaten, you know, but because you want to find out how they are doing. Yeah. Let me give an example in the book by Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe writes and says that we do not gather around the moon in our homesteads because there is no moon in other people's homesteads. We gather because it is proper and just for family and for community to gather together. We do not invite our relatives for a feast because there is no food in their granaries, in their homes, but it is because it is important to eat together. You're getting the point there?
Yes.
That a lot of people lose these relationships because, for example, I want us to first move away from the children because I am my father's and my mother's child. I've lived in Nairobi close to 30 years. So I am far off removed. But I'll tell you what the joy of my parents is. It's not me going up country, Charity. That's no longer their joy. Their joy is when I give them an update that, you know, your granddaughter has done well in school, is going to study this. My mother will even ululate, you know, on the other side of the phone and tell me, you need to bring that child. I see them before they join college. You get? Because I am also spent. My time with them is also spent. They've seen me through the motions. But I used to find my father a very strict disciplinarian when I was growing up. The other day I asked him that these your grandchildren are doing all this. You know, he called me aside and told me, I did my bit with you people. And he said, I have brought up 5 men. There are no smokers in this house, in my compound. There are no drunkards in my compound because I did my best. Then he said, now it is your business. If they become drunkards,
that's your problem.
That's your problem. And he was very categorical that if my nephews, nieces, my children become alcoholics and smokers, it's not his problem. He's done his bit. Actually, he used the word, mimi nilienda retire. Na nikamaliza kazi yangu. Kazi ni kwenu. That is him. So he enjoys his time. You know, him calling his grandchildren, you know, they want to play with Guka. He's busy looking for macadamia for them. That's his business. That's his fun. Yes, and sometimes he will tell them, let's go to the farm, you know, and just roll down, you know, and some can't go roll down because it's hilly. So he has the task of bringing his small grandchildren up. That is his fun. So, and this is what we are talking about now. Even you as a man, do you want your children not to have a stable family? You want them to have, because then that you will have people to look after. I will not mention it, but a former CEO of mine, working in a big organization, he was doing something in his rural community, and he would mobilize us, all managers, and we would go to his rural community. We do marathons, we do this, we gather in schools, young people come. Then we actually asked him, boss, it seems you want to be a mheshimiwa. You know what he told us? He told us, I have been at the pinnacle for 10 years of one of the largest and most influential organizations in this country. I have done my bit for this country. Then he said, even if I was looking for money, in this place, I am paid this amount of money. A member of parliament earns far much lower than what I earn. What would I be looking for? Then he said, I cannot wait to be 65 and I will stop doing anything. My money will work for me, and then I have time to play with my grandchildren. Not with his children. Grandchildren. But how are you going to get your grandchildren unless you also talk to your son and daughter and show them the focus that a family is important? For example, Bitok, why did you decide that it is good to have a family and children? Because you saw your father do it. Children see, they do.
Yes, correct.
Yes. So
it's not they don't do what you tell them.
Yes.
They do what they see. What you do.
So if you go home, like I see some fathers do, you're taking your son to a pub. I saw that in Nairobi yesterday, and I was very sad, in a residential area. And you are having alcohol and there are people, even young people gyrating, in front of your child. How do you expect to then later on tell this child that alcoholism is not good, that he needs to settle down and have a family? Will you manage to do that? No, you show the example as a parent. Okay.
That's interesting. Tuende madukani. When we come back, I just want to get your views as we close that discussion, because I think that there more that needs to be said about men. But anyway, tuende madukani kidogo. Tuangalie tamba sponsor the show is proudly brought to you by Rex Roofing. Rex Roofing inaweza kupa nafasi ya kuweza kuweka nyumba yako roofing safi kabisa, quality roofing shingles, stone coated roofing tiles, alafu UPC roof gutters. If these days we have a problem with people are complaining about water, but you can actually harvest your water every time it's raining in Nairobi. You can harvest, but you can only harvest for consumption if you're using the proper methods of water harvesting. So Rex Roofing gives you very nice UPVC roof gutters, also waterproofing membranes. These days also there's a design that's coming up, Captain. Nyumba ukijenga, taka ujenge nyumba kama hiyo. The flat roofs.
Yes.
So you want to waterproof your roofs, you need to talk to Rex Roofing. If you want to do that, pia you need to high roof. Unaweza weka shingles ama weke stone coated.
Sasa mimi niko accumulation phase. So najaribu kusanya kila kitu pamoja.
Sasa sanya shingles pia. Sanya shingles alafu ibaki matofali. So Rex Roofing, thank you so much for partnering with us. As you've said, Rex Roofing inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kupata roofing materials ambayo inaitwa shingles. People talk about shingles being expensive. By the way, it'll come soon. Tutakuonyesha some of the samples and some of the sample works that have been done. We'll be able to share with you the works that they've done very soon, probably in the course of the week. Quality roofing shingles, alafu stone coated roofing tiles, na UPVC water harvesting gutters ama roof gutters, alafu pia waterproofing membranes, all from Rex Roofing. Quality materials at best prices, and you get to have a roof that looks like your future. We're having a conversation here with Mrs. KIHIKA. Talk about between men and women. Anyway, kabla tuenda hapo, tufungie wababa kwanza. So wababa tumekubaliana shida ya wababa kuretire na shida ni shauri yao.
Ni shauri yao, lakini tumesema
you can start off again.
You can start. I think the take home here is wababa wanaweza wakaanza. I would also like to add another place wanaweza kuanza ku develop, to accumulate, to collect that, to invest in, what are you calling it, Captain?
Cumulative legacy.
Cumulative legacy. They can actually engage in their churches, because many people, Kenyans, it's said that Kenya is a country of 80%. The 80% of our population are Christians, and it is true. I see a lot of men in churches, and when we are meeting for the women ministries, when we are like 1,000, I find there are 100 men. My encouragement to the men, particularly who frequent many churches, that is also another, that can be a catch place where you can actually have friends that can walk with you even into your journey of retirement, and you can be able to have friends and family from the Christian perspective, and also including your own family. So it is not all lost. There is hope. There is hope, yes.
Unaweza anza mahali usonge, hata kama unasikia maisha imekuwa ngumu, pick a call, make a call. There's never a late time to start. Kama ulikosea watoto, you can still talk to them, tell them, I'm sorry.
You can.
There are things I didn't do right.
Yeah, we are told that blood is thicker than water, and I truly do believe this.
Okay.
You can call them and ask for their forgiveness, and you can start from there.
Yeah. I think, Captain, we need to redo the ways of men.
Yes.
I think that's a book we need to redo it again.
We need to,
and we should recommend it to men, yeah.
Yes, and it's a very small book, by the way, Charity. It's only 102 pages. Wow. But a lot of men and women who've read it have told me that it has changed the way they think about themselves. because even for men, it advocates certain ethos, you know, that you need your group of friends. And these people, you check on them. Then the other thing is that you know you will grow old. Technology is coming and replacing us as men. So how do you make yourself useful? In the past, you are useful because a man is supposed to be the mechanic in the house, is a security guard. But now ladies can invest in technology and see who is entering their homes and protect it. So, what is your role as a man then in the changing way of life? Okay, so men have to reinvent themselves, become something useful. You have also to have a multiplicity of skills as a man to survive in the modern world. So the book is not intended first, especially I say this. There are those who are, unfortunately, are raising children as moms on their own, and they do not have the advantage of having a male around them. It is very good that you read this book so that you also understand
The ways of men.
the ways of men. And what is this that you need to inculcate. And there are also others there that, you remember Bitok, we said, in the ways of men, if I introduce you to my wife and my fiancé, there is a code that we do not go looking at other people's wives, fiancés, or even children. That's the code that men develop when they live in the way of men. Because it's supposed to be honorable. It's supposed to be honor. There's supposed to be integrity. And people are supposed to live those ethos. And then somebody, if you walk around, somebody can say, here lived a man.
And that's the way of men. But you can buy the book from Captain Collins Wanderi, The Ways of Men. He sells books. So if you need a book, you can always buy it for 200 shillings. You get a digital book that you can read. Inakuwa yako. Nambari, tafadhali wasome.
0769 199 911.
0769 199 911.
Yes.
Okay. Unaweza tuma M-Pesa hapo, alafu unapata kitabu yako kwa email ama WhatsApp. Unaweza kusoma. I recommend The Ways of Men. If you are a man and you want to know how men act around each other, because these days even men, there's no honor among men.
Yes.
Like they say, there's no honor among thieves. There's no honor among men. There are a lot of lines that are crossed. Men hurt each other. At the point of the back, they betray each other in every sphere of life. Anyway, we get back to harmony. Family harmony and joint investments. Tuliachia hapo siku ile katikati tukumaliza.
Let me first give the legal perspective talk. Because there are things I was lucky to be taught family law by somebody who had gone through the full hog. He had finished university, gotten married, studied family law and become an expert. And he got divorced. Yes, so he said, I don't teach theory. I teach practical because I am myself.
I'm a living specimen.
He was a living specimen of having gone through and he said, and he would always tell us that divorce is a very dangerous thing. And we wouldn't understand every time he said this. And then he said, because divorce, he explained, happens in several phases. One, we know how marriage happens. People come together, they get married either in the church, at the ages chambers, they go culturally and get married, and there is exchange of gifts, and that happens. And he said, then you sit together, you disagree. One of you commits matrimonial offenses, and we know them. But let's not get there. So then divorce has to happen.
Yeah.
And he said he would tell us divorce happens in 3 phases. Number 1, there is what is called the social phase. Okay? Then in the social phase, you're beginning to move away from each other. In other words, you no longer want to be seen with your husband or wife in social places. So you have to pull out. There are those people who participated. If you got married publicly, then we came to cheer you. Yeah. So you don't want us to know that you are
we are your extended in-laws.
So you see, the social part is very difficult because it involves very many players. It has your church if you got married in church. It has your clan. It has the man's clan. So there are a lot of people there involved. Then he says there is a psychological phase where you have to go and intuitively you have to ask yourself, this is happening to me? And that psychological emotional phase, he said, is the most difficult for a lot of people because that is the time you're supposed to make a decision and say, this is no longer working. We need to be apart. But what happens in Africa, And he would tell us the biggest problem is that African men do not want to be left, especially if they're the ones who've done wrong. And he says also African women do not want to let go, even when they are the ones on the wrong. So the African woman does not want to let go. The African man does not want to be left.
Okay.
So he said that part becomes very difficult. And that's where you get all manner of advices. And that's where people now, he says the final bit, which is the physical separation, where now people, the woman moves away or the man moves away. He says that part is actually the easiest part because after all, everything else has failed.
Yeah.
But he says the emotional part, even people move away physically, they're still afraid if they got married in church to go and file a divorce case. Yet, as long as that paper, that marriage certificate has not been cancelled by a court order, and the court order actually comes into two. There is one which is called Decree Nisi, which says that it's an interim. You still have time to think over it again. And if you say now we've reconciled, the court will say, okay, I will not now issue the final decree, which is a certificate of dissolution of marriage, which now essentially cancels the marriage certificate. Now, those phases, the reason I'm explaining to them, to people, is because when that divorce happens and when people now separate, those phases, the social phase, or sometimes some people begin the emotional phase. It doesn't start in a particular order. There are those who begin with the emotional phase. They begin to drift apart. They no longer confide each other. They hide you remember what we talked about, confidentiality and secrecy. Some people begin to keep secrets. And so the couple now can no longer live together. Now, you go now, if there are those then who go to the social phase, now you have to keep telling, we come here, talk about our children, our families, then one day you don't want to talk about, we know something.
Suddenly, Captain is not talking about, what's the name, you call her queen or princess.
I call her the crown princess.
The crown princess.
Yes.
Suddenly you don't want to mention that.
I don't want to talk about that, because you are drifting apart. So, then physically, people separate. Now physical, it means you've gone through the motions and you're now declaring to the public, we are no longer together. But even now, the final phase for those who are married legally is that you must again go to court. And usually, we are advising a lot of people. If you've lived apart for very many years and you're no longer together, the way to dissolve marriage is not to go to live on pretense and showing people that you're married. One of you files a divorce petition, because you cannot collude, the other one enters appearance and does nothing. By design or by default, the court will declare that marriage dissolved. So you don't have to go to court and start saying that Janet did this to me, she fought me, she abused me. You don't need to. And many times we also advise couples that even if it was what you would never want your children to read in the future, because court documents are public records, is that we don't put that in the petition. Okay? Charity, it may be difficult for you, but last year, I had three marriages dissolved. And they went well because I told the couples that...
What do you mean they went well? Dissolving marriages also goes well.
It can go bad, It can go bad because people file papers in court which are not very palatable and say things which are very unpalatable. And you don't need to do that because already it has failed. So you don't need to say nasty things about the other person. Just let it go. And then, of course, there is where people like charity and professionals like her come in because they must take these people through the emotional and the social separation. It is very difficult. I can assure you, if you are explaining to your child why you're no longer going to be with mom, is it easy?
No, I don't think so.
It's going to be very difficult.
Very difficult.
And that is where a lot of people now live. They live separately. Others live in the same home, but there is no longer communion. Others live in separate homes, but they have communion once in a while, but they are living pretense. There are men, their appearances, because you don't want to be known. Maybe you are a CEO of a company, so you don't want people to know that you are divorced. I am mzee wa kanisa. But it doesn't exist. It actually only exists in theory. So those are the motions where now I sometimes say that the law does not have all the solutions. Okay. Sometimes we call upon other professions, like the social psychologists, the clinical psychologists, to assist us, because sometimes it is very difficult. Because you can see we have instances where some men have been known to defile their own children.
Wow.
Now, if you how do you expect the wife then to continue living in that home where her own child was defiled? I mean, you're talking of a married woman and her daughter, therefore, having communion with the same man. Is it even moral?
No.
Is it even proper?
It's actually shocking.
Even outside the law, is it proper?
No.
So those are the things sometimes we come across. So sometimes even us as a profession, we sometimes refer these people and tell them, hey, for you, that's why I said those ones went well, because you tell them the way you're fighting now, it will not help you. You no longer live together. So please so and so, do a 2-hour session, come back, and then when they come back, you find them, they say, it's okay, it's fine. So the man agrees to be left, and the woman also agrees to let go.
Okay. Come back to you on harmony, family harmony, and joint investment. Do you think couples look in the same direction? You know, there's someone was telling me the biggest danger in life is when you're sitting on a cliff, facing the same direction but looking at total different things. Does it happen mostly in marriage? You're in the same marriage, sitting on a cliff, but you see totally different things.
I want to say my mind is, and my husband's mind, we can never see necessarily the same things. Because we have different personalities. But we can intentionally, first and foremost, we are in this for a purpose. Yeah. The first point should be how we came together. What was our intention? Okay. Captain Wandera has talked about marriage. If it is a marriage and we came together, is to bring our resources, which are, some of them are our strengths, our views, our opinions, and harmonize them. Bring now the harmony. So we may not see the same thing, but we can harmonize. We can have a compromise. Or
win-win formula.
Exactly. We can come together. I don't know why I'm truly such a firm believer that as long as you are able to talk to one another or with one another, not to actually, but as long as you are able to communicate with each other, you can actually communicate and be able to see things the same way, or also see things differently, but still agree. Yeah. Because you don't have, I mean, even twins, they don't think the same. Yeah. Their fingerprints are different.
However much identical they look.
Yes. Okay. They are totally different. And they don't 100%. In fact, they have intuitions and they can do things in a same way, but that does not mean that they think exactly the same way. And that can be confirmed by people who research on behaviors of twins. They don't actually. Yeah. So we can see things differently, but still be able
to have a common
agree.
Agenda.
Either for you to see your view, if it is a positive thing, because again, it's not always the things that we see differently are bad. No. But when now you're sitting on a cliff and my views are like what you're doing is wrong, and I don't even know probably also what you are doing, then it means we are not together. So we need to recreate, because we can always, I don't know how I should put this, but we can always come back together. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it is very possible. This morning I was thinking about Sudan. How did we have peace at the end of the day after almost 20 or 30 years of fighting in North and South Sudan? It's because they reached a point where they realized our fighting was not working for us. Yeah. Guns and all, whatever they were using, they killed so many people. Their countries were dilapidated, but they had to come together at some point. So the earlier the couples come together at some point, either like Captain Wandera has said, agree that it is not working, the better, so that we can give each other space, and then one can follow their own direction. And it is not a good thing, he has said, because that was not the intention from the beginning. Yeah. But if truly you cannot be able to sit together and you can never see things together, communicate. Bring yourself to a level of agreeing that you talk to be together. Yeah. Still be able to talk, to be able to get out of each other's space.
So how do you manage a situation where now, as we're saying, people are different, we look at things differently. Before Captain came in, we're having a conversation about men and where men and women and where interests go to. Men prefer to see their money. They want to buy land, they want to build story buildings and all that. Women, on the other hand, prefer security. They want to feel secure. You'd rather have 10 million in a bank account lying there, they know it's there, and than to go and buy land in Kitengela and build buildings. For them, they would imagine that na siku moja niamuke nipate hiyo ghorofa imeanguka. Ama nisikie watu fulani. But men, for instance, they take risks. We spend, because you're also talking about the ways of men in terms of the peer groups. Men discuss different things, and within men, there's some level of competition what they do. When I meet Captain and we're having tea, you tell me about the things he's doing in Mukurweni. Like, okay, I bought 6 cows the other day, dairy cows, and I'm getting 50 liters of milk or 60 liters of milk. So I need to have something to say next time. So next time I'll make sure I go to Eldoret. I also buy 7 cows. And by the way, Captain, let me niko ng'ombe 7. It's different the way men and women relate. So when you talk about a union, a proper union is between a man and a woman. It's not between a man and a fellow man. We could easily commune, but that's not how God designed it. God designed that man and woman shall come together. Now, you're having this disharmony within, having disharmony in finances. Sometimes it happens most of the time because we're also talking about a woman who is getting more empowered. Women are getting more empowered. So in a final situation, you find that there's a disharmony of finances. Maybe the man could be less and the woman has more. So how do you harmonize this and end up with a joint vision that this is what you're going to do as a family without looking at everything else that surrounds us?
I think where there is a will, there is a way. And by saying that, I mean, it depends on what this couple want, first and foremost. If they had goals when they were getting married or as they lived together, I said we can have different views but still be able to agree to live together. If my husband is the kind that likes to buy properties, he wants to amass land and all that, and I have an opportunity also of earning, then we can agree. He can buy the land, and I could also maybe save in terms of having cash money, and probably also save a little. But I think for me, what you are asking is, it can be a challenge because if particularly where people cannot agree and find place to agree, that's where now I am also finding it difficult to say there is this way or this way. There is never a way that I can give a guidance to people because again, the way people live is the people are very unique, and you can't be able to advise on you do this and this is because there is not. In psychology, we say every answer is right because it depends. It depends on the view where you are coming from. I might be standing on that side. I see 9. It could look 6 to you, but for me, it's 9. It is 9. Okay. So I think people need to in this day and age, where there is a lot of we know a lot. We are living in a global village. I think we can learn from others. People can learn from others. However, people who are living together must be able to understand that you can't build 2 homes in one home. So you need to come to terms with that and agree on the best way possible for yourselves. If the husband really must have the property, the land, and everything, then I think that the wife can also be able to invest in
the fallback. Or can be the fallback.
Exactly.
You can say, okay, as I invest, be the fallback.
Yeah, can be the fallback.
If things go south,
at least we have property and we also have money.
Okay.
That is a very difficult.
What is the guarantee that as you are falling, the mattress will be there
That's
to fall on?
Because again, the issues of trust come in. The issue of trust come in. So I think for me, it's a difficult thing. Okay. However, people need to engage because, like, even this engagement, we are learning from each other. So couples need.
Let's bring it home. How have you been able to do it yourself? Ensure that you have a fixed, an harmonized focus as a family, as a couple. Has this been one of the challenges? Has it ever been a challenge?
It has been a challenge.
So how did you harmonize?
It has never been a major challenge. Initially, in our earlier years, we would discuss, and probably that's why I keep on saying people can talk.
Yeah.
We would discuss, we would agree. I remember one time we lived in South Sea in a very nice house. It was a townhouse. We liked it. We lived in it for 9 years. And while I was inside this house, my husband was talking of buying plots and all that. And I told him, I would like to have a house that I can be able to live in. So we were discussing, if I find a plot, it will take time to build. I said, all I would want
It's a home.
is a home. Whether we buy a plot or we buy a ready-made house. So finally, he went around, and he also wanted to build a home, like Wanderi has said, because it's very, very important to have that place where you came from, where you can be able to call your family members and also gather there. And I mean, start from Jerusalem, start from your home, and then you can build up. So we didn't know what to do first. Then our discussion was like this. This is where we live. So we really need to be able to get out of paying rent and probably pay a mortgage. So because for us, we discussed and we talked back and forth. Sometimes he said, okay, let me build a small house in the village. It's not necessary for us, but we can be sharing. We can build for my mother. And then he says, there is no point. It's not cost effective to build a small house for your mother where you can also go. It's better also to build a big home where she can stay in one wing. So I'm like, okay, we go build a big home in the village. We were in like maybe mid-20 or 25, 29 there for him. So we discussed, we also argued about it quite a lot. And finally we realized we wanted the same thing, but the process is the one that was different. So thank God for me, because my husband was looking for a house everywhere. He decided, forget about talking to you again. Now I know what you want. And it is good for us. He went, he came to Kilimandi in 2000 and I think and 1 or 2000 there. And he found people who were putting up an apartment. And he said, that's it, a place to stay as we now build a dream home.
Yeah.
And that thing excited me. So we were able to solve it, but it was not straightforward. What helped us actually is the ability to be able to communicate and also to see beyond what I would like and what he would like. Because at the end of the day, what we wanted is a home. Yeah. Whether it is in the village or the city, the process, the thing is, we knew what we wanted, but in different, but how to get to that, the process was the one that was a challenge. But finally he made a decision, which I'm forever grateful, because the decision was very good. He made a decision, and he looked for a house, and he said, I don't want to live in Eastlands, I don't want to live even here. So, and I didn't mind coming up this side. It worked well for us because we were always talking. Sometimes we never agreed totally. And that is a time he would sit and think, and I would also sit and think what is the best way forward. And finally, it was his decision, and which for me, I was okay with.
At the end of the day, it worked.
Yes, it worked very well.
I'm really happy, Charity, because you've actually now given me the meat of the next thing I wanted to say. Yeah, it is very sad, Bitok, that we've also gotten a situation where there is danger in the homes. Where couples hurt each other and has got to the point of killing each other in the name of trying to live together and to get their point across. I have listened to Charity. As we say, we learn from each other. Yeah. And Charity says one thing. They argue, they agree, disagree, everybody else goes things. Now, finally, the man makes the decision. Because this is what I wanted to say. Because what is a man? That's why I keep saying men need to read. What is a man? A man is not an empty vessel. It's not having long legs and hair on your face, having a beard, and having the ability to tell a woman that, oh, I can take you out for coffee. That's not masculinity. That's false masculinity. And we cannot have the ornamental masculinity that we have. What is a man? A man in a home setup, in a family, is the vision carrier. The vision carrier. He carries the aspirations. He embodies the aspirations and the dreams of that family. And that is what it is God designed it to do. And divinity, in all its manifestations. That is why they don't get a beard Bitok. No, they don't have a mane. You have a mane. I have a mane. the scarface may have lost his mane as he aged, but we still have ours. You know, mine may be graying, yours is still very green and very dark. You know, but the point is, you are the vision carrier. So what is the role of the woman in the home? Now, the vision carrier has to have his head up and have foresight and look ahead. But to look ahead, what is your head supported by? We talk. What comes below your head?
The shoulder. The neck.
The neck. So the woman becomes the neck. If you get a stiff neck, if you sleep badly and you get a stiff neck, how easy is it to turn your head? It is impossible. It's very painful. So you cannot see your vision. You have to be able to turn. So it is upon, and Charity, you did it right. Congratulations. And you're showing to the younger generation what they are missing. When I talk to them when they're divorcing, sometimes I even ask some people, why are you divorcing them? Because if your only disagreement is that you are so full of yourself, you cannot see that the other person. You let Baba Watoto, the man of the house, make the decision. Your work as the neck was to turn him towards where the direction. Because if my neck is stiff, I cannot change direction. But you let him see, you are turning him to the right direction. And once he turned into the right direction, then he went where the vision was. And that's what he did. But a lot of women nowadays, they don't complement, they compete with men, which is wrong. It is completely wrong. Yes, there are all those things we hear about, you know, and the confusion is here. Charity, and you remember we mentioned it, that culturally it says the man is the head of the home, he provides everything, okay? Religion, all religions say the man is the head of the house, he provides everything. Then the law says we are equal. You see the confusion there? And even in real life, when one person does not get, you cannot have 3 CEOs in an organization. Is it possible? No. You cannot have 3 presidents in an organization. We tried it in Kenya in 2007. And at the end of the day, one side had to accept that the president, the buck stops at the presidency. Okay? Whether we've shared power and we've agreed on a coalition, somebody somewhere finally must say the buck stops at on this desk. So for the man, you're the vision carrier. For the woman, you are the neck. If you become a stiff neck, this man will never see his vision because he will never be able to turn to the right side of things. And we must accept that is the position. If we do not accept that way, then we'll always have a problem. Because I say this out of experience, because even today, after this session, I am going to a matrimonial dispute at 10:30. I shall be in a judicial process for a matrimonial process. And it is all about these egos, you know. Yes, it is good. You are a woman, you have more money. It's okay, it's fine. But money has never made human beings. It is human beings who make money. Not the other way around. Money cannot even buy that legacy of connection with the people. You have to connect with the people. You have to have humanness. There are men who are rich, but they are very violent at homes. And
they're animals.
They are animals at home. There are women who have a lot of money, but equally they are very violent. And sometimes for women, the violence does not have to come physically.
Emotional.
I had a session the other day when a man told me, and I have not met such a good man recently. He says, yes, we have a baby. I want to take care of that baby. I have agreed. I have told her to calculate what she has brought in my house. I have paid her. Actually, he paid cash. He was left with no money. Then, you know, he told me, this is a woman I got, and she's a professional, and she has the audacity to come to my house and tell me that you are from a village, you are a villager, you are still speaking with mother tongue accent. You get? That your people, your mother is going to bring herbs to the baby and kill our baby and poison him because she still believes in tradition. You see, she is demeaning the man. You know, using very demeaning words. Not only demeaning him, demeaning even his own mother, her mother-in-law, demeaning her father-in-law. And you see that kind of violence. What women engage in homes is structural violence, where they demean you. Even when a woman tells you, Bitok, that you know your friend so-and-so has now bought a Range Rover. That's actually violence. Somebody is actually trying to show you are still down. It's emotional violence. And a lot of men suffer this and they keep quiet. When somebody uses words that are calculated to make you feel less, to feel unsuccessful, and to feel demeaned. We are not running. We are running everybody is running their race of in life. The way I lead my life, the way you lead yours, the way Charity and her family leads, we all have different visions. And people have different visions. And the man is a vision carrier. That's when now you need to read that book so that you know how to start down and say, yes, I have listened to you. I have gotten those thoughts in my mind. I will see what to do. But do not at the same time now turn to using physical violence because God gave you more strength to then hurt. I mean, it's actually, somebody ought to think very seriously. You can't hurt the same woman who agreed to carry a baby for you. Okay. That is the person who agreed to host your genetics. A man, you talk to a woman, you convince her to host your genetics, your biological material, to make a baby. Then you go to the same vessel and you visit violence on her. That is very wrong.
Okay. I think, with your permission, one, within a marriage, there can never be two centers of power. I think that's what Captain is saying. Why I find that dangerous, it's because when you came together, and I like to go back to this, you came together to build each other. Yeah. There must be the one who is responsible and accountable to this union. I would encourage couples to appreciate that our roles are to complement each other. Yeah. But they are never to fight one another. And when I say this, I know we are living in a different time where one can do whatever they want. But the truth is, where there is
there's order.
Where there is order structure, marriages thrive. Even in our time, there are very many young people also. I would like to lift this, Captain, that I personally know, and they are living good marriages because they have learned well. So, and they have made a decision that they came into this marriage to make it work. So the point here is, what brought us into this marriage union? That which brought us is the one that will sustain the marriage. And he has said very well, it's not the money that will sustain the marriage. But if it's the money that made you two people to come together, then if that money goes,
then it has to keep it.
it will break, the marriage will break. Marriages are supposed to be defined way before people get involved into them. In fact, even we encourage people to think seriously and to think through, because you'd rather break an engagement than break a marriage. Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's wonderful. So I hope we've gotten out to our best, and of course, we learn then, and I think there's no school for marriage.
In fact, marriage is the only school that you're given a certificate before you graduate.
Start school. Just to ensure that you have to finish the course. They give you a certificate first, and now account for this certificate. All right, we move to gambling. Gambling addiction effects on person and society. I'm sure you had some things to say about gambling, so I'll start with you, Madam Charity.
A lot. I know gambling right now in our country is a big business.
Even the government now is getting taxes from it to finance their budget. They're putting it at 20%. Yeah.
And I will say it's quite unfortunate. Yeah. And it's not only in our country, it is a universal thing. For me, gambling has more disadvantage to the lives of the nation and to the lives of the people that engage in it. First and foremost is because it's not a way of making people earn for their work. Yeah. I have heard people who gamble quite a lot calling it a game. So really it's a game. It's not a means of...
It's not a source of income.
It's
not an economic activity.
Means of making a living. And people who engage in it, they have come to see that it's a destructive way of earning a living, and it affects us in very, very many ways. One of them, in fact, particularly as a country, is that we will breed a population of people, or we have bred a population of people who are actually idle, waiting to gamble or to do that game and make money and be able to invest. Yeah. It is never like that. That is one thing. So we have a lot of people that are sitting idle because it encourages idleness. So that whatever money you can get, maybe from your mother, like for the young people, some children have gambled school fees. Yes. And they have gone home to be chased by their parents. That is destructive. And by the way, it's not only young people who are engaged in gambling, even professionals are engaged in gambling. And the most disadvantage is that when they engage in that is, I call it an idle way of trying to make money. You cannot make wealth from gambling because it's not something, you don't produce, you only feed. You feed in a hope that you are going to make a kill. So it affects the whole country, it affects individuals emotionally, psychologically also, and financially. And at the end of the day, my experience with the people who have gambled and have made it a business, they have ended up being very, very, very broke. And again, it affects even marriages because it's a way of it makes you anxious or desirous to want to do it again. So sometimes you have money for food, but because you want to go and gamble, you gambled, let's say you went to the casino, you gambled maybe 10,000. You realize you got 15,000. So now that you have this 15,000, you have this desire to want to make more. So instead of paying school fees for your little child, you take that money in a hope that you are going to go and make maybe a million or 100 million. I hear some people have made 100 million. I don't know whether in Kenya they have gambled and gotten that.
Some guys who they were announced.
Exactly. But you realize it affects the whole fabric of the society. It's a negative thing. Yeah, maybe for now I would
mentally, from a psychological point of view.
Mentally and from a psychological perspective, is it becomes when you become addicted, because the more you gamble, the more you want to gamble to make more money. So psychologically, how it affects you, it makes you it's like alcohol. You take one bottle of beer, you take that and you're okay. Then you realize you take 2, you take 3, you take 4. As you do that, your body develops what we call tolerance. So even gambling is the same. You gamble 100 shillings. You don't even make anything. Then you are anxious. You develop now an appetite to, let me gamble again.
I might get it back.
You lose that 100. You start being depressed or stressed about it. So anxiety gets into you and you are trying to now recover your money. Emotionally, you want to keep on doing it. Then you have this it's like it's a desire to win. So that desire is the one that will drive you. You lose your self-control.
It becomes a cycle. It might come back captain.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on gambling?
You know, let me break it down, the statistics for Kenyans first. In 2018, 8.7 million Americans were addicted to gambling and required treatment. That's the American Psychiatric Association statistics. Now in Kenya, in 2017, Kenya has the highest gamblers between ages 17 to 35 in the entire sub-Saharan Africa. Yes. Out of the 34 countries that make sub-Saharan Africa, we have the highest number of gamblers. We are not the highest in population. Then, in 2016, another study, 78% of Kenyan university students are problem gamblers, meaning they are addicted to gambling.
75%?
78%.
78%, wow.
That's how badly we are doing as a country. Now, people think it's a joke. One of the persons who gave their information, Ken Karanja, this is public information. He's a 29-year-old man. And in the year 2019, 2020, he lost over 600,000 within a period of 1 year gambling. He lives in Ruaka. He's a truck driver. Wow. He has no savings, no family, and he admits he is an addicted gambler. That is how bad we are doing. Yeah. Now, there are many other people. They've gambled first because of the allure of instant money. Yeah. You would think that money can come that easily. Let me tell the young people today, ladies and gentlemen, you have the energy, vigor, and the advantage of new knowledge. Please, you have to work your way up into something. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I have a degree, I can't get a job, so the only thing I can do is to use the 100 I get to gamble. Wrong. In gambling, we've given the statistics here. If 100 people, say, if 1,000 people said 100 and make 100,000, and only one is supposed to win 10,000, then the person who wins has the probability of 1 to the power of 5. That is 0.0001. Now, let's break it down.
0.001.
Yes, and that's out of, if you go to win that 10,000 out of 100. Then we go to, if there are 1 million people who gamble, and then one is supposed to win 100,000. Then we go to the power of 6. So again, it is 0.000001. Really? And somebody thinks they can win? That is almost it's almost a virtual impossibility. You know, so as you gamble and you're being told that, look, because a lot of media stations, and I want to condemn them unreservedly, and we've condemned some here because they're using even religion, or that you have upanda begu, then so that you have to do something. So
weka imani. One of the stations in the morning.
That is the most shadiest. And any journalist doing this, in Kenya should know that you are part of the problem in this country. You are part of the problem that is killing our future generation, because the children, the young people are the future of this country. If they grow up believing that work is not important, that they can win, that they can get addicted and win once, and then get depressed. And I have liked what Charity you've said, because most of the people I know who are addicted to gambling suffer from anxiety disorders. They cannot work, they cannot concentrate. They're ever on their phones, even at the workplace, because they want to place the next bet. And when they miss money, they beg from everybody. I have friends, somebody who texts you and tells you that, look, I'm afraid so-and-so, we met through so-and-so. I am somewhere, I need only 200. In other words, the addiction makes him even a liar.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and a very dishonest person. So we got to a situation where we had one of our friends, one young man we assisted to go through university, had actually now conned all of us, the people who assisted him, and then he went ahead, now started calling our friends. When it was discovered, I am sorry to say that even his employer dismissed him.
Of course.
Yes, because the people who complained against him to the employer, are people of means, and they said, this young man works for you? Yeah. He's a liar. He lies to everybody. And that's how he lost his job. Now he's become a destitute. He's become an alcoholic. Somebody with a master's degree in economics. That is the impact gambling is having in our country. And these media people, you are there, you know your employer is telling you, I know you are an employee, but have your ethics. That it is not in the ethos of journalistic training to make people addicted to gambling by saying and keeping saying, oh, even God will reward you. Really? Even religions, even cultural religions condemn games of chance. The Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, they all condemn games of chance because these are games that are addictive to people. If 2,000 years people knew that it was wrong, how can it be right now? So you've got the statistics, and we are talking of 2017. Kenya having the highest number of addicted people. Now, Kenya was even cited in the UK Parliament, as a country where gambling is so entrenched and seems to be supported by the state to an extent that companies that engage in gambling in Kenya are able to even sponsor international tournaments because they make excessive money. Why? Because number one, there is very little control on who should be engaging in gambling.
No.
Nairobi is a very small city, but it has more casinos than Johannesburg. It has more casinos than Cairo, which is a mega city. You should ask yourself where we are heading as a nation. People in the Ministry of Interior, the Betting and Licensing Control Board, you wake up in the morning to license gamblers, knowing how it is hurting our university students. How many of them? Because in 2018, a university student gambled his money, he gambled his fees and committed suicide.
Correct.
Okay, we had recently a wave of suicides in Nyandarua County. What people are never told is that those young people were committing suicide as a result of the losses they had made out of gambling. This is how serious it is.
Yeah.
But we've got very senior people. If you are the person chairing the betting licensing and control board, if you are the person employed there, please think about what you're doing to this country. You are doing harm in this country. Yeah. You are hurting generations. You are killing lives. And we say, as far as humanity is concerned, if you save one human being, you've saved the world. You cannot be licensing people who are killing the vision of our children, killing their ethos and their belief in hard work, and then purport to be holding a very senior position, and you're paid by public money. You do not deserve that position. That is how serious gambling is in Kenya. And I also want religious organizations and professional bodies, for example, the Counseling Psychology Association in Kenya, and other people who are involved in the Psychiatric Association in Kenya, to condemn this spate of uncontrolled gambling, because it is happening in the villages. It is happening. Now we even have religious bodies even putting a car and saying people buy tickets, raffle tickets. Really? No. You cannot serve God in that manner. No. Not through gambling. You cannot go to media and tell people that plant a seed, have faith, weka imani, that we are giving this money to help, needy causes. No, we are helping schools. The money these people donate to those institutions is a pittance. The rest of the money, the people who are running these gambling companies are billionaires. They've made a lot of money. It is time to stop them in their tracks.
Okay. And by the way, as a matter of principle, we refuse to participate in those things of saying 100. As a matter of principle, I've turned it down. Because I think it's not ethical enough to lie. And say, because you definitely know they're not going to give that person money. There's some going just to award one guy who just to do for PR purposes and for trust purposes. But I don't think it's ethical enough. If you have to do be rogue if you want to be rogue, but when you start telling people have faith and put money in gambling, have faith and send 100 shillings to this number, you could get a chance of winning. I mean, God does not operate in such a way. If you want to be rogue, be rogue. Just say, let's gamble, send money. If you want to gamble and make money. So as a matter of principle, I've refused to participate in that.
Thank you very much, my brother. Yeah. I speak against gambling at every turn. I have seen it destroy, and I explained here that one of my nephews could not even milk my cows and take the milk to the dairy because he started hawking it in the village just to get money for gambling. And he collapsed an entire production, dairy production, because of the addiction to gambling. And as a result, I explained 4 people lost their jobs, including my father who was supervising them, the 5th person.
He became jobless.
He became jobless because, charity. I had 9 animals. This young man was supposed to look after them. He was supposed to take milk to the dairy. I did not have the animals per se because I needed them, but I was trying to create a livelihood. That's the way I give back to my community. And I still do, by the way. Right now, if I get a young person in my family, in my extended family, who says I have some land and I want to look, and I know I can do dairy farming, I am not averse to buying a heifer for them. And I want them to raise the heifer. Now that is what I do. Once the heifer delivers the first delivery, once it calves, most of the time I have told them, raise the calf, then give it to me. Because the big animal belongs to me. I paid for it.
Yeah.
And I don't pay it cheaply. I buy these animals that are hybrids, 45, 50,000, 60,000 for them as heifers, and they raise them. I do that because you're trying to emancipate an entire community and family from the bondage of poverty. Yeah. But when you get somebody, and then the next thing, he will start selling his phone, selling his radio, just to continue gambling. And then the next thing I heard is that now he's selling you a napier grass. Now he started even milking and getting people with the bottles to come and pick the milk. So when you are delivering 10 liters to the dairy, now you start delivering 4. You see the danger it gets into. Yeah.
In fact,
so I had to stop the entire business.
What you're saying is very true, and that's why I talked of being addicted. Because when the person is doing that, it's because they have developed an addiction to gambling. You can be addicted to gambling the way you can be addicted to any other substance. This because it changes your behavior. Your behavioral system. Now you become a different person. You want to make a living out of other people, and now you can't control the desire to want to do that thing because it's a game and it has gotten into your mind. However, I'll be quickly I will say there is a way out also. Like all other conditions, people can access help from counseling, and they can be assisted to
get out of it.
Yeah, to get out of this addiction. It's a long process, I must confess, because it means readjusting one's behavior. Of course, sometimes also it will affect the environment that the people are living in, because you will help them, come out of it. But if they go back again to the same society or the same community, you find they will relapse and all that. And finally, I would like to say we all must condemn, I equally condemn completely gambling. It is, in fact, I will strongly say it's anti-God, because the principle of God is that work and he will bless the work of your hands. And the captain has talked of religion. All religions are against gambling, and we all must be against gambling. We must encourage our people. And captain, I want to say it's not only young people. I know in fact, I know one prominent lawyer who has been in the practicing as a lawyer, a very competent man, and right now a man probably in his 70s. And because of his addiction to gambling, this man actually has never managed to be, he makes so much money, but you cannot be able to see what he does with his money. I also know doctors who are addicted to gambling, and they have suffered. So it's really across the majority, of course, is the young people, but we also have people who became addicted in their younger years at 30, and so they have been unable to get out of it. But thankfully, there is help. There is help. One can be helped, and they can recover from this addiction like all other addictions.
Okay, so they can get counseling, because there's someone actually. This topic came up from someone who had texted, and he was saying he's desperately trying to get out of gambling. He has gambled everything he has in his life, and he's trying to find a place where he can get rehabilitation. So there's counseling. You can go for counseling.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is also medication.
Of course.
Yeah, there is also medication, because I know this because she has talked about lawyers. Yes. Yeah. I know also another lawyer who was a class ahead of me. He was addicted to gambling. Unfortunately, we lost him to COVID. But just you can see now the final effect. But this is a man who could not stay home. Get some 20,000-30,000 in his pocket. Off he's gone. He leaves his office. So of course he had because of he had taken some time in practice. He also had two associates. They were working. They would bring in some money. The problem came when my client's money would get lost from his farm.
He gambled client's money.
Yes, he went gambling, and it became dangerous. And that urge, at one point, he was hospitalized. There is what they call the institutionalized. So he was together with the people who are being treated for alcoholism and psychotropic substances and drugs. But their program was a bit different. I may not know the mechanics, but I know we went to see him. And after he came out for a year, he was almost okay. But Bitok, you talked about it the other day, that people who are running these gambling farms, they invite the same people and entice him again.
Yeah.
So he was caught again and enticed to some casino somewhere in Parklands. And so there he went, and he won $1 million and something. I think 1.8 million. Then he got some taxes, so he went home happy. And that week, of course, he wouldn't go back to work. He wouldn't be found because he was back there, now gambling the same money until it was over. So that is how he relapsed and went back into it. And after relapsing, it took him to the grave because, you see, he couldn't stay home.
Yeah.
Because he was in the group that then would hide and sneak into those casinos, and continue gambling even. And that's how he got the COVID infection. And again, because, you see, once you lose control of your own mind and you have those urges and anxieties, and then, of course, after losing the money he had won after a long time, he gets depression, he gets post-traumatic stress disorder. And after that, then he could not be recovered again because even his friends, those people who had assisted him to get into rehab, were no longer interested now because they said, Sasa jisaidie. This is a man, Bitok, who could not even remember that he needs to renew his practicing license, that he needs to pay for the professional indemnity insurance, because you see, in his mind, everything is fine, and that is how we lost him. And that is very, very sad. So it's not just, as Charity is saying them, you can imagine now he left a family, 3 children. Now he's left the burden to the wife because he left nothing, essentially nothing. He used to drive a Mercedes car, very good one. Nobody knows where it went. Yes, after
it was gambled.
Me have put it to a Shylock to gamble it. Wow. But nobody knows where the car went. So actually that is the only thing. Then of course, because of the push of the wife, they had a home. Okay, they are even lucky that because the home was in their 2 names, that he couldn't then even pledge it to those Shylocks. But that is how serious this problem is. And as we talk in this country, if we are not careful, Charity, as you said, we're going to raise a generation that does not believe in work, that believes you can make money through gambling. And if we are talking of a developed country like the US, where the Psychiatric Association is now engaged in full time to offer treatment to these people. We had a problem at the coast the other day, where people were being treated for drugs. Now, can the country afford a massive treatment of people addicted to gambling? I don't think so. And if they're addicted to gambling, who will work? These taxes that the state wants to collect.
I know.
You have to collect taxes out of production.
Of course.
You people have to work. They have to transform material. They have to transform ideas into innovation and enterprise to create money. But if you engage everybody in gambling, thinking that you get taxes there, that is self-defeating. It is self-defeating at the end of the day. You cannot have people waste their productive years, then expect that the economy will survive. The economy will not survive.
In fact, again, we go back to what you had said earlier on, and even last time we talked about it. The policies that are being made by the policymakers are very warped. Even the people who they regulate, do we have regulators? Is this gambling regulated? Do we have an age limit? Do we know how the gamblers are also making money? Because besides also the people gambling, the government or the people that are responsible for ensuring that people are doing things that are productive for them to get the taxes, they need to regulate. They need also to even to stop some of these things. We have had an issue of the film industry where, and I can mention the Dr. Mutua has been fighting, and he has stood firm, saying that we are not going to allow those very, I'll call them dirty movies, programs to be watched by children. He has fought. So where are the people who are supposed to regulate gambling and ensure that gambling is also controlled in this country? for the young people to be able to work. I think there is a failure because we said responsibility falls on leaders also.
Yeah.
Somebody must be accountable to this. Why must we have so many gambling companies in Kenya? Why must we have them? They have tried to control our pubs within the estates, and they have given a space. You can't have a pub from between in the estates. I think I'm not very sure, a certain radius. Why can't they do the same for gambling?
Yeah.
This thing is going to collapse the whole country as we
That is
watch.
sad.
So the policy makers must rise up and regulate this thing.
Before it's too late.
Yeah, or even ban them. Probably leave 1 or 2 for the responsible people because they say it's a game.
But they say, we cannot limit to our smartphones.
Yeah, the saddest part of it is the criminal aspect of the gambling. Because as we talk now, in the villages, life is becoming unbearable. And I say this because as you try to empower the communities in the village, you have stock theft. Even in places, unknown places like now in the villages, Kiambu, Nyeri, Murang'a, where the homes are very close to each other. To now rear chicken in the village, you need very fierce dogs. And you literally have to spend to have
You have to spend on the chicken and spend on the dogs.
The chicken have to sleep inside your house.
Wow.
It's that bad. So you have people. I have a lady who does chicken farming. She's dealt with that for a long time. And now she's had to build a very strong house. Literally part of her house has been converted into a chicken coop because you cannot keep them outside because they are stolen on a daily basis. And these people who are stealing are simply stealing, selling it to the next butchery, they slaughter it, selling it cheaply. A chicken worth 1,000, they'll sell it at 500 just to go and gamble. That is how serious it has become. It can actually destroy the entire rural communities in some areas. But as you say, the policy makers in this country, sometimes you worry about the kind of people who are in charge. And I don't want to call upon politicians here. I want to call upon the bureaucrats. Because you will retire one day. You've talked about pubs being certain meters. Do you know today, you go to some areas in Eastlands, Umoja, Kayole, where our people live, where the people who are struggling to rise up live, and you will be shocked that there is a pub. You can have a row of 20, 30 pubs on one street, and all selling alcohol. Then you have wines and spirits everywhere. So addiction to substances and alcohol is something our people wake up to every day. This is not the way to grow an economy. This is not the way to develop a country. And this is not the way to govern a country. And I am calling upon the bureaucrats. That suit you're wearing, that nice suit you're wearing is paid for by the public. Please have at the back of your mind that I know you are imagining that your own child will not be involved in gambling because you will take them to a good school, but they will become the victims of crime by those who are gambling and whose livelihoods are destroyed. That's how bad it will get.
Okay. All right. I'll go to YouTube. I read the comments on YouTube. And then when we come back, we finish on our last topic. Let's see. There's some guys who have been active here on YouTube. I'm trying to get the comments together. Also, I think we have also guys on Twitter. Anyway, Jonah Mutai says, Jonah Mutai watching from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Good job, GB. Thank you so much, Jonah Mutai. The Fortified family, thank God for Bitok and Captain. For a long time, there has been very little transfer of knowledge to the younger generation. You are fathers by proxy. Thank you so much, the Fortified family. Just what Kivet, a brilliant Kibet, a brilliant morning, GB. Mudaiga tuned in. Thanks a lot, Asante. I'm also seeing David Akero, whichever choice he makes, a man can choose to love women or understand them. He can never go back on this choice. I choose to understand women because the byproduct is peace of mind. Okay, I don't know how we should take that. You can choose. Yes, you can choose to love women or understand them. He says he chooses. I choose to understand women because by product of peace. Pokot Negative says some sense. Benjamin Lacey, following the discussion, Benjamin Lacey actually follows you. Madam Charity says, following the discussion, Salamu kwa Charity and Captain, it's true gambling is unhealthy to any society. Elias Ruth, most of the media stations are doing gambling currently, sadly enough. Grace Kamau, morning bitok, nimechelewa kidogo. Leo amelala kidogo. Grace Limovin says, concerning gambling, the media, especially radio stations, are really advocating for gambling and have managed to lure even the old. Sad. Grace Kamau says, Muzee aliniambia I'm addicted to Bitok show. At least here we discuss sense. We are very useful. You need to get him on board. Get Mr. Kamau. I hope that's his name. Get Mr. Kamau on board so that we can be having these discussions together on Mondays on the Common Sense Edition, Life and Money. And at least you come here to get knowledge to run your marriage well. Without this show, inaweza yumba. Haya, Grace anasema she's trying her best to ensure that Mr. Kamau comes on board. Martin Warui from Kasarani says, good morning, GB. Martin Warui from Kasarani, asante sana. Limovin, good morning, Gerald. I'm glad I found you live. We are tackling Monday together. Asante. Martin Warui, ask Captain where there is credible evidence, scientific or otherwise, to show how much gambling contributes to all those social ills. I think there is an exaggeration of this issue. As you swali kwako, Captain. Grace Kama says, Bitok Captain is such a gentleman. Asante. Martin Warui, not really on Monday, I listen silently. Asante. Okay. Hiyo ni swali kwako, Captain, kabla hatujarol.
Yes.
From Martin Warui.
I know a lot of people have this problem. In 2017, the Geopol survey, that is the one that studied gambling in Kenya. And that is one that established that between the ages of 17 to 35, Kenya has the highest number of gamblers. Another study, again by the same body, found out that 78% of the university students were problem gamblers. And then there are also statistics by the BCLB, that is a Betting Control and Licensing Board. They also have their own statistics. And they've also recorded cases where, for example, the student who hanged himself after losing $790 US dollars on a bet. So these are things that are known. Then the number of suicides in Nyandarua County, I mean, they were recorded. And the suicide watch, Kenya we had the county being placed on the suicide watch. But I understand, because there are also those who think that gambling is a very good thing, you know, and it is okay for them. It's fine for them. But these studies are there. They are conducted by institutions. Because of the Geopol study, the 2017 study, Kenya became a subject of discussion in the UK Parliament. It is not our Parliament. It is not the idlers, and I like to call them idlers, in our National Assembly and the Senate, who are discussing this. No, it is the United Kingdom Parliament that was discussing the problem of gambling in Kenya. Because they were associating it with the number of domestic violence, bankruptcy, and evictions, which had been stated in that poll, the number of people who have been polled. There are also people who've talked about their own studies. Ken Karanja talked to the BBC, and he actually explained, that is in June 2018, and he explained that he spends between 1,000 and 1,500 betting on a daily basis. And so for the years he's worked, he did not have anything to show. Wow. And he'd fallen into crime, because you now start lying. You start making mispresentation. You start misusing even the assets of your employer. So anybody here saying that the statistics are exaggerated, it's a fact that Kenya has more casinos than Johannesburg. Nairobi has more casinos than Johannesburg. You can go to the Betting License and Control Board, Google the statistics, you will see which country has the highest number of casinos per capita. Kenya has. So it's not a lie. Kenya has also been cited in money laundering report, what we call the trade-based money laundering, activities. That the reason why trade-based money laundering is very prevalent in Kenya is that you can easily now clean that money through gambling. Casinos. So these are statistics that are out there, and they really condemn our country, and they don't look good for us. Yes.
Okay. All right. Warui, sasa umepata ujumbe. Sasa kwa dakika 5 za mwisho ambazo tumebaki nazo, I want us to crack 2 things. there's there are two things that there's one thing that actually three. One was mentioned by Madam Charity. The second one was, I think there's something we've hit part of it about preferential treatment by children on parents in old age. So, and then another one is dowry. There's a follower who was asking me about today, modern age, parents are still very keen on emphasizing dowry over communion of people. So I don't know where should we. Let's start with the dowry. Madam, wewe ni mama.
Sasa
Mambo ya dowry unaona.
Mimi ndio tungeanza na captain kwa
just
sababu
tuanze na
wanaume
baba.
ndio wanaitisha dowry, but I will say something. These are cultural issues, and when people are still very committed to their culture, some of this they don't want to let go. However, I come from a different culture that does not actually pursue those cultural norms. We have a daughter. First and foremost, let me talk about myself. Because of the fact that my parents were Christians and born again, they belong to a sect of Christians called Tukutendereza. That's an East African revival group. Tukutendereza. Yes. Or ama in short, Bwana asifiwe, ama tumsifu Yesu. It's a revival group that was very vibrant in the late 60s and the early 70s in Kenya. So they were believers in that, and all people from many churches belong to this particular fellowship. It was a fellowship. It's still alive and vibrant today, but maybe not hard as
it
much.
was back then. Okay.
Yes. They had completely come out of the clans, so they did not believe in dowry, but they firmly believed in marriage and people negotiating. They believed in developing relationships and blessing their children.
Okay.
So I am an example of one who was never paid for dowry, and I think that has really, really, really enriched our union, because my husband cannot put any value on me. My father said I am his mother and I am his child, and so he can't put any value. And what he did, which was, we still talk about it to date, is that he never even called men who will come and say, we need this, I don't know, is it bottles? No, mutungis or containers of alcohol, because he didn't believe in alcohol. Okay. He was out of the clan. He supported the clan, but he never went for their meetings. He didn't participate, and even their beliefs, he confessed to them and told them, I don't belong, I don't believe in these beliefs of the clans and all that. The reach was actually that they were being done those days, and they are still being done. And Central Kenya is having a lot of problem of those things where people are Christians and they have started now going back to their ancestral religions and all that. So there becomes now a complication where we claim to be Christians, people who are followers of a Christ Jesus, who himself did not belong to any culture, but his own culture was supra culture. So the things that were done, he left them. He didn't concern himself so much with them. And therefore, for believers, and where I come from, we don't concern ourselves with those things. And also when my daughter came to getting married, we never asked for any number of cows. We never asked for those things because we also do not believe in it. Again, you cannot pay dowry to a child so that now your daughter is married, dowry has been paid. This is the value that you have attached to your child. I think that's where, for me, the problem is. So I am really not for dowry, and I would encourage parents today to honestly get out of it. However, there are some Christians who argue we are doing like Abraham. Abraham carried a lot of things, cows and gifts to go and give to, to the people, to where the wife of his son, the only son of the promise, Isaac, because we know he had another son, and that's a story for another day, Ishmael. But for Isaac, he gave gifts, honey, and all those things. But people must remember, there was not one wife that was identified. The servant was sent and was told, whoever will give you water, who you will ask to give you water for the donkeys, and the animals that he had when he was going to look for a wife for Abraham's sons, Abraham's son, that one, that will be the one that will be the wife of my son.
Yeah.
So some Christians carry that, and so they say when we are going to see the parents of the son-in-law to be, we will carry gifts. Okay. We will give them gifts. We'll never call them anything. We'll just go there and present ourselves.
So we call them now gifts. Let's not commercialize it and call it a dowry.
Actually, yes,
so they, gifts.
They don't commercialize. They don't count how many they are, and have been involved in quite a lot of those, maybe 10 or 15, and it has been very, very successful. Okay. Yeah, there was no alcohol that was asked where was it? Because I wouldn't also be involved in where they're asking for beers and they're drinking beer. They are doing all those things that personally also I don't know them. But I would like to encourage parents and the community, Kenyans today. Culture is not static. We should not be bound by our cultures. And that's why you find people say, oh, you can't marry from this community, you can't marry from that community. Because our kabila yetu hawataki kabila hii.
Kwa hivi na vile.
Kwa hivi na vile. I think we need to understand and appreciate that we have also changed. We have come from those things that were there in the 1900s, and we are living in a we are living sort of to say in a more open space where we are all brothers and sisters, and we can interact, we can marry from any community, we can respect people's way of life. We don't have to follow them, but we can follow what we believe in. That is what I would say. And I'm not really for dowry.
Okay. Kapteni, that has to be the most depressing process of dowry. Baza unaenda urudishwa kwa mlango, sijui naambia hiyo alipasuanga sijui nyungu na hukua. Unasikia wanasema atio my daughter huwa is teremkia 1.1 na nusu ama 2 million. Either you have it or you don't. I mean, what do you think about dowry? What are your thoughts?
First, it has a very negative impact in our society because of the extraneous and outrageous demands by parents. You have a situation where young people are no longer engaging in the conventional marriage. People just come together and cohabit. Come we stay. Come we stay is a product of those outrageous demands. Number one, I believe it is good to respect people's culture, but it is also good to revise culture. You know, we were told here by our friend Eric that culture can be edited, and we can edit culture. We talk where I grew up. In my clan, I know they ask for 60 goats, 7 cows, and a number of things. We actually had a calculation sometimes back with one of my uncles. And it looked like, as a minimum, the amount of money a young man would be required to pay if he was marrying from that community or from that clan would be a minimum of 600,000. And you want to reflect on this. So you have a young man straight out of university, still paying his higher education loans board loan, and now he has to borrow money, and let me use the crude word, to buy a wife. Because that is the issue, actually. It's commercial. It's to buy a wife.
Unachukua hadi loan.
Yes, unachukua hard loan to buy a wife. And you see, we cannot be remaining where we were put by the colonialists. That the colonialist government, the Mzungus would say that an African went to work for several things. One, to build a new hut, to buy a new wife, get the word, to buy a new wife, a bicycle, to pay a debt. And after
So there is an old wife.
Yes, and after he got any of those things, he left with or without notice. That is now the way they were looking down on us. And we are back there. And I like to challenge. Here the challenge is for the women. For the women. Because when it comes to things called equality and equity, women are very keen to say we are equal to men, we be treated the same. But my sister, you still want to be sold like a goat in the market. You know, if you cannot tell your parents not to haggle over you, then there is something wrong with you. I want to promise, and I have said it even in social media, I'm not going to haggle over the price of my daughter. What I would expect is a young man to demonstrate to me that my daughter is going to be safe, that he has enough metal, he is capable of being a man and looking after her without hurting her. And my grandchildren are not going to be vagabonds because they don't have a place to live. Even a weaver bird does not agree. A female weaver bird never agrees to commune with a male which has not built a nest. So I want a nest first. Yes, for my grandchildren. Before that, I don't want anything from you. There is nothing you can add to me. I have raised the child. I've given her everything. So you can't pay back my feelings and emotions towards the child. So those parents were engaged in this crude and backward practice of outrageous demands. And I call it very archaic because I don't have good names for it. I find it very bad that at this era, at this age and in time of our history, we have educated women, graduates, agreeing to be covered with shukas, and now their husband is being taunted, tafuta bibi yako. Seriously? I mean, that's nonsense, at this age. I went to your home because it is you I wanted.
That's what the mothers were wearing masks.
I don't have to keep selecting you from masked women, other women, That is a game of chance. I don't want to do that.
Gambling.
Yes, when I left where I came from, I knew that I wanted X, Y, Z. So these other groups I'm being told to choose. I mean, you call them games or whatever you call them. They look childish, They don't add any value. And the reason, as Charity has said, part of the reason some men are very violent is that in some communities, I know of men who've told me that in our community, men have no voice. We pay dowry for them.
Wow.
Tuliwanunua.
Okay.
Tulitoa pesa. So if you want to sell your daughter, then you should also be ready for her to be hit, and to be disciplined in accordance with the culture of that community.
Wow.
But we are talking of a generation here that has been... Now, our children who are born and brought up in Nairobi, what connection do they have with that culture?
Nothing.
They have zero connection with that culture. You get? And so to burden them, you have the burden of culture. You are burdening them with cultural things that makes no sense to them. Okay. I appreciate the good aspects of culture and I preach and promote them. But any aspect that denigrates women and makes them less as human and reduces them to items of sale, I will be against it. And I am calling upon educated women to support me here. Anytime I find an educated woman who comments and tell me that she wants to be sold, I tell her, then you are not different from a goat in the market. Yes, because that's the position.
Okay. The sad thing is that one day you'll have to be exchanged with cows. The cows will come to your home and you'll go to the home of cows. All right. Facebook says that on the thing even has affected our parents because they are all over, even in the local radio station. By the way, there's something actually in central Kenya.
Yes.
Local radio stations, a lot of old people are gambling. They're too much deep pesa ngapi uweze kupata. So these are on the research. This thing has affected our parents because they are all over, even in local radio stations. Sakonki Blagat, in Slovakia, in order to enter a casino, you have to identify yourself with an ID which is connected to your debt risk. No bankrupt, highly indebted citizen is permitted to do gambling. Maybe something like that should be implemented in Kenya. Thank you. Okay, Omogeni, these are the kind of discussions and topics that you decide to listen and watch. Captain Collins and Charity with the host Jarabi Talk. You guys need support to salvage the society of ours. Things are bad. This must from Umoja. Thank you so much, okay, Momogeni. Andrew Munene says, watching from Doha. Asante sana. It's been a pleasure to have you guys. YouTube, finally, let me see if we have any... Okay, George Gigi says, Betog George from Indiana. I'm a big follower of the tackle and I always enjoy. Thank you so much, George from Indiana. Really appreciate it. Canada, we know, Captain, you're a voice of reason. You tell the women the truth they don't want to hear. Okay, it was so as the topic as I always advocate against this dowry thing. It's special because we are getting from a mother. He's saying, mimi wa mama sana ndio nasemanga dowry lazima mtoto wangu hawezi enda hivyo. Kusikia amefunga kiuno akapiga nduru jua ni kubaya. Ama atoe sweta afunge kwa kiuno. Mtoto wangu hawezi enda free. It's been a pleasure having you guys. But before you go, maybe last words, your closing remarks. Tackle of the day.
My closing remarks. Let us all condemn gambling. It's against even the moral laws of hard work. We are hard workers and let's embrace hard work. When it comes to issues of dowry, I want to categorically also say this should be discarded completely. People should embrace the son who is going to marry their daughter, and also the daughter, the daughter's family must embrace the family of the person who is marrying them, and we must not accept to be sold as women. The younger girls must refuse. However, where I come from, it's the men who ask for dowry. Women will ask for other things like sufurias. But even those sufurias, it's just rituals, and they are never a serious thing. So even those ones, I think we should also get away with them. Yeah, tuachane nazo kabisa.
Tubakisha leso kwa sababu ni zawadi.
Yes, Bitok, again, I want to call upon the bureaucrats in the office of the president, in the Ministry of Interior, to seriously think about the issue and the impact of gambling on our communities, on our young people, on our society. I want to call upon journalists in media houses. It is not a must that you must agree to be enslaved by your employer and to sell things that you know are unethical. There are even laws in this country. There are even provisions of law that support you and protect you as a journalist if you refuse to, for example, keep cheating people that they are going to gain because of gambling. We must condemn this spate of gambling, uncontrolled and unregulated gambling, because it is affecting our communities. On issues of culture, let us retain what is good for us. Let us discard that which does not promote harmony and integrity in our communities. At the same time, Bitok, I know this topic will keep coming back because we have our young people getting this feeling that I don't need to take care of my parents because I don't want to pay black tax. It's not black tax. It's called the burden of heritage. It's the burden of heritage. Because Bitok, some of us came from very low levels in our communities. We were brought up by parents who sacrificed everything and anything they had to make us what we are. I do not feel burdened when I call my father to talk for 30 minutes. I don't feel burdened because he played his part. I am because he is, and he is because I am. And therefore, I will not find him as a burden. I will do the best I can up to the point where he is able to live his life meaningfully. And I will also give him guide. Now I now have the advantage of youth, being more youthful than him, and I have more energy and I have vigor. Where I think he can support, I will support him and give him the ideas. That is what our parents are calling for. Let's not be like other foreign societies. Let us not dump. This is Africa. Let us not dump our parents in the homes of the aged. It is wrong. It is immoral.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you. And thank you also to our partners, Rex Roofing, who have been able to bring us the tackle on Monday. The Monday Show Common Sense Edition is sponsored and broadly brought to you by Rex Roofing, where you get quality roofing shingles. If you're roofing, if you're building and you're roofing, you have to build a nest. I must see a nest. Okay. So if you're building a nest, you must get shingles from Rex Roofing. You also get stone-coated roofing tiles. Very beautiful stone-coated roofing tiles. And also UPVC roof gutters, waterproofing membrane for your homes to ensure that your house unaishi kwa nyumba unaona ukuta inaanza kuwa yellow na ilikuwa white. So get proper roofing solutions from Rex Roofing. And also roofing materials, that is quality roofing shingles, stone coated roofing tiles and UPVC gutters, roof gutters uweze kucollect maji safi kabisa. We'll go to show you some of the places that have been done, including the app in Karen and also Brookhouse Schools. Rex Roofing, roofing your world. Until tomorrow, see you and bye-bye.